Alright, Snake Cinema Reviews. I am back with another review. Unfortunately, no snakes. Sorry, because they have eaten. And you don't want to mess with snakes after they've eaten. Gotta let them digest. And I really want to get a review out because I haven't reviewed anything since A Fall from Grace. That trash. So let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else that I watched on Netflix, because as you guys know from my personal vlog, go check that video out, that I recorded a couple of days ago. I have been down with the flu. I've been sick, dying in the bed, just in a lot of pain and agony. So I'm starting to feel a little better, got my medications, all that jazz, and I go back to work tomorrow. So I want to hurry up and get a vlog out or review out. So I've been watching a lot of things on Netflix. Some I will review, some I won't, because it's not worth reviewing because it was trash or just not worth the time. But one that I really want to talk about is a documentary I watched. It came out earlier this year, early January, and it's The Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. And in case you've been living on a rock and don't know about that whole Aaron Hernandez story, he was a football player, one of the, or like a legend in the making. Like, he played for the Gators and I forgot where else, but you know, he was a beast. I'm not gonna lie. There wasn't a time when I didn't hear, when he was playing, that I didn't hear his name. And I'm not even a football sports fan like that. Like, I don't care about football like that, but I knew about Aaron Hernandez, and because he was just that player, he was a beast. And when the whole, you know, murder case went down and he got arrested in the trial, that I remember that. Like, I remember that time, and I was like, whoa, like another OJ situation. A guy murdered somebody and he continued to play and nobody knew about it. and then he unfortunately killed himself, or fortunately, depending on what side of the fence you're on. You know, he killed himself in jail. And there's so many conspiracies of why he did it. Well, did he do it so, you know, get the money to take care of his kid and his wife, or, you know, or he was depressed, or, you know, there are so many conspiracies out there of why he did it. We don't know till this day why he did it. But we speculate it was for the money, because it was some clause like, if you were to die, something like the NFL would have to pay him for contracts, or because he was in his murder conviction was going through appeals or something like that. Some stupid legalities. Let's get to the documentary and reviewing that. Okay, so one thing, you know, there's a lot of true crime documentaries. I love true crime. And right now there is a lot of people debating and making think pieces and writing articles and blogs about how, you know, are we glorifying crime? Are we glorifying murderers? And we can have that discussion, but you know, is it wrong to profit off the dead, or profit off a story of, you know, someone who did a heinous, horrible crime? And I get both sides of the arguments. I get, you know, we should show this to show so we can learn from history, and I get we can show this. We shouldn't show this because we shouldn't profit off of victims and glorify killers. You know, we have people who are actually stans and fans of serial killers, and they buy merch and do fan art, and that's just some weird internet shit that I don't understand. I don't get you guys. I thought it was just a Tumblr thing, but it's gone beyond that to where people actually stand for like Ted Bundy and some other. It's just and even when this documentary came out, it was memes and people posting like, ooh, Aaron Hernandez is so fine, he's so cute, he's so sexy. It's like, guys, he's a murderer. He killed people, multiple people. I didn't even know about the drive-by shooting at the club, because someone had allegedly spilled a drink on his shirt and he got mad and chased their car and drove up and shot him. Like, I didn't even know about that. I just knew about the first one, the so-called friend, or the, You know, his baby mama's sister's boyfriend. I knew about that. I didn't know about the other ones until this documentary hit, and I was like, whoa, he committed multiple murders. And you know, there's a story to be had. There's something to be said about, are we glorifying or are we just learning from the past? And maybe it's a little of both. Maybe there's a real thin line between glorification and education when it comes to true crime stories. So, you know, the world is messed up. The world's messed up. People do messed up things, and sometimes messed up people glorify people who do messed up things. I'm not on either side of the argument, but I do enjoy certain true crime content, like My Favorite Murder podcast or the last podcast on the left. I just like learning history. I like learning crime. It's just, but I don't glorify like, oh my gosh, these are my favorite serial killers, or these guys are, you know, Ted Bundy is amazing. I love the story. Like, no, I don't. No, no. Those are monsters. They deserve to not get any glory or praise, but we should learn from history, learn from their mistakes, and learn from, you know, and we need to talk more about victims than the murder. That's how I feel. That's where I stand. If we're going to do true crime stories, which is why I love, you know, My Favorite Murder, because they really highlight, emphasize, and remind you of the victims. They're not praising the killers. They're not glorifying the killers. They're like, no, let's talk about the women, mostly women, but there have been some men who suffer, but mostly women and children who have suffered. Let's let their story be told and give them, shed a light on what happened to them, and fuck the killers. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, and so they made this documentary, and what I will give this documentary kudos points is that they did shine a light on the victim. I can't remember, I wish I pulled my notes up, Wikipedia up, I'm sorry. But because I don't know everybody's names, but they interviewed the victim's best friend, and they showed snippets of the victim's mother when she, for the few times she talked to press and going in and out of court. And I like that they shined a light and gave him a voice to the voiceless. They gave him a voice too. It wasn't all one-sided to where it was just, oh, let's humanize Aaron Hernandez and give his backstory and see why he did what he did. Is it CTE? Is it his father raising him? Is it because he was in the closet but he was bisexual and couldn't express that? You know, all of those things could have played a factor in the person he became, but I'm glad that they also showed the other side. Like, hey, there's a family that's suffering. There are friends that are suffering. There are people who are still upset, angry, and hurt by the actions of this one person. And we can do a deep dive into serial killers or just killers in general, why they do what they do. One thing that I've learned listening to true crime podcasts is that a lot of killers have in common is either abuse as a child or head trauma. And it seemed like Aaron Hernandez had both of those. So, but I still don't think that's an excuse for murder. I don't think, you know, at the end of the day, he was a grown man who made grown man decisions. Did he let his rage and anger get to him? Yeah, but, you know, there's no excuse. So I like the fact that this documentary was not all Aaron. Like, they gave the victim's family a voice. They gave his best friend a voice, and that man was so dope. Like, I love his interviews, every statement he made and all the other stuff. Like, and even when they kept trying to get him to talk about Aaron Hernandez, he was like, fuck that shit, I'm talking about my best friend. My best friend was an awesome guy, and you know, and I really liked that. I loved that part. So I would give the people who created this documentary, who put everything together, to not, you know, make it all about Aaron. Like, let's not forget, there are some casualties, there are some victims, there are families that are hurting and sad. And so kudos for that. But do I feel like they tried to humanize him a little too much? Yeah, in a way. They didn't touch on CTE all that much, and so, but at the same time, I'm not gonna blame everything on CTE. I'm not gonna give, that. And there's something to be said about CTE, especially the way the NFL's been trying to cover it up for years, and you don't know for certain until the person's dead and you dissect their brain and do the autopsy. But it looks like he was going through some issues way before CTE, like his family issues, his background, whether or not he was bisexual and in the closet. He had a lot of issues before football, even though he's been playing football his whole life. So, hey, who knows? He could have had head trauma when he was in the little league and the baby league. So who knows? But it seemed like they were like, oh, his queerness, his bi-ness is what's the reason. Oh, his father's anger is the reason. His mother betraying him and his aunt is the reason. And just 10% of the documentary was on CTE. Like, let's kind of even this out a bit. It could be multiple things. It could be a multitude of things. People who go through trauma as a child, people who go through situations, a lot of us, and I can speak for myself, only for myself, but I can speak for other people I know. A lot of us have gone through trauma or some sort of abuse as a child, or been in the closet and all this other stuff, and we did not do the things he did. We did not go that route of a criminal, of an arrogant narcissist. We didn't go that route. So I don't want to put trauma make serial killers. I don't want to correlate the two, but I don't know. It's a very difficult topic and a difficult story, and like, nobody knows for certain. Nobody can give us 100% certain it's 100% CTE. It's 100% his upbringing. It's 100% his father. It's 100% his anger issues with his mom and his choices she made after his father died. Nobody. It's not. Humans are a monolith. Humans are not one thing. So it could be every last one of those reasons why he did what he did. And I don't know, I just felt like some things, like the videotapes of him talking to his daughter and his wife and stuff, some of the things in certain parts, not throughout the whole documentary, but certain parts, they tried to pull your heartstrings, and make you feel for him. But I can't hit. I can understand, I can sympathize, but I cannot excuse what he did. And I feel like the documentary is trying to make the viewers excuse what he did. And it's like, you don't ask that of the audience. Like, he killed multiple people. There are families, there are mothers, there are children, there are wives, girlfriends, there are brothers who are still grieving to this day because he decided to kill 3 people. And it's like, we can't excuse it. And like I said, true crime stuff, whether it's podcasts, documentaries, TV shows, maybe it is a thin line of trying to humanize the quote-unquote bad guy or the perpetrator while giving a story and a voice to the victims. And I just felt like the balance, although I commend them for giving the victims' family and friends a voice, I also feel like they were playing the fence. They were playing it safe to where, I guess, Aaron Hernandez, wife and kids wouldn't be upset, but at the same time, the victims' people wouldn't be upset. And I don't know. I've never made a documentary, but the documentaries that I watch and I've seen over the past years, most of them have been one-sided. Either their subject is 100% the villain, or their subject is 100% the hero, and nothing else. Like that whole Blackfish stuff, which that could be a whole nother topic. That's all one-sided. That's all propaganda, and wasn't fair and people fell for that bull. I didn't, but other people fell for that bull. And those are documentaries I hate. And most documentaries now, especially if you go on Netflix, is that way, like a Blackfish. And I feel like the Aaron Hernandez documentary tried to not be that, but in a way, I can see what I'm trying to say is I can see how the people who have an issue with this documentary have an issue, but I can also see why people who don't have an issue have an issue, because they play both sides. They play both sides. And you can either penalize or commend them, but from what I see, a lot of people really like the documentary. And for the people who didn't care for the documentary, they sure make a lot of memes out of it, you know what I'm saying? It's been very meme worthy for a month. I've been seeing popping up, you know, jokes about him killing. You know, there was one meme that showed Drake mad, angry at the club, and they said, you know, when the guy wasted a drink on Aaron Hernandez, and, you know, there are different memes going on joking about his murders. And, you know, there's a lot to be said about that. Should we joke? Are we joking about the victim? Are we joking about the crime? Or are we joking about the murder? We can joke about the murder, the person who committed the murder all day. I don't have any sympathy for Aaron Hernandez at all. I can understand the situations that he went through in life, but I don't feel bad for him. So when people joke on him, I don't care. But there's a thin line when memes kind of almost start joking on the victims. You know what I'm saying? True crime is very, very complicated. But overall, I would give this documentary 7.5 out of 10. Almost 8 out of 10. It was very enjoyable, very well made. Again, I commend them for giving the victims' people side a story and get them a voice and let them speak their mind, and it wasn't all team Aaron. And at the same time, no, I feel like my only issue with this that I felt like they kind of tried their best to humanize him a little too much, just a little bit. But like I said, true crime industry is a thin line between learning from history or glorifying bullshit that happened. So what do you guys think? Do you guys hate true crime stuff like documentaries? Do you love it? Do you think that people glorify it too much? Do you think it's always one-sided? What are your takes? Comment below, and I will catch y'all in the next vlog or movie review.